funda pa' gastarle. Esta noche tú y yo nos vivimos la película. Luce cámara, la acción después en mi recámara. En el duelo no se sabe quién ganará. So baile y bebe. Ese seguro y retrocede. Que me encanta la manera en que tú lo mueves.
Solo pégate un poquito, mami, que yo quiero enseñarte lo que yo tengo para ti. Lo que tengo para ti. Sé que te va a encantar como me tuyo.
What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Studios. Oh, man, I got an echo in here. Can you take over, Bryan?
What's going on, everybody? Gametime, Bryan, otherwise known as... Oh, wait, I don't have my head on. The mailman.
Thank you.
Joining my partner in crime, Primetime Phil.
What's going on, man?
Go,
Yeah, I had something in the background. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I can hear myself. Maybe it's an outer body experience. Is it happening here on air? Is that what's going on, going down with the ship? But anyways,
Brad.
Here we are, of course, in the house. We have, and I want to get this done early because we haven't been on the air for a little while. So JoJo is in the house, of course. Brad Harris. I appreciate you guys coming through. Of course, we got more going to be coming in here in a little bit. A lot of them coming from your channel, but here we are, man. Bryan, last week didn't quite happen the way that I wanted to. This is kind of the setup that I had for last week. Talk about CeeDee Lamb, talk about the contracts, talk about his absence, talk about Micah's absence. But now with the other OTAs, the mandatory ones in there, and Micah appearing and CeeDee Lamb not, here we are a little bit more into the drama. I was not really drama. We kind of see it coming. So, you know, it's kind of like seeing an episode of some kind of soap opera, but you can kind of predict what's happening. So, are you surprised by anything that's been happening with the CeeDee Lamb situation?
There's no surprises with CeeDee Lamb. He'll get done. Like I told people earlier over the last couple of days. You know how, for whatever reason, CeeDee Lamb has now become the ire of many people. For whatever reason, I don't understand why anybody would have a problem with CeeDee Lamb or not want him on the team. And all of you trolls calling him a slot receiver, we've already been down that road. There's a reason why he's in the slot, because we had one main guy and we were trying to get him open. He can play anywhere.
Yeah,
but I love him in the slot.
I'm very critical of his game.
But to sit here and say that we don't want him.
Yeah, no. Like I mentioned it. I mentioned it during your show.
CeeDee tonight.
Yeah, I mentioned it during your show when I was talking about
tonight.
what about if we trade him? All this kind of, it's just talk. Obviously, you want your number one. We've seen teams in general that don't have a number one, what they can really do. CeeDee is that guy. There's certain situations where we need to get the offense rolling. They know where the ball is going to go to. They still cannot stop him with the double teams and everything. So, again, it should allow other people to get open as long as you have that guy. I mean, that's what Cooper did when he was here for CeeDee Lamb. And we still have guys that are emerging to hopefully be that number three. Some people would argue, do we really even have a number two with Cooks in the lineup? I tend to believe that Cooks is a pretty good number two, but I can see the arguments in the way that the Dallas Cowboys have used him where he wouldn't be in that situation. What do you think about Cooks?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I love Cooks, so I'm not like whether he's a number two or not. He's our number two.
Mm-hmm.
He's our number two. And
who's number two work for?
I love our receivers as a whole. I love Jalen Tolbert. I love Jalen Brooks. I hear he's pushing Tolbert. We have a lot of people. And there's one thing I want to get to later, but just speaking of, they're using Cavante and Turpin everywhere. Expect a Turpin to have even a bigger role, which if Turpin, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's dangerous. He's always getting positive yardage. I never see Turpin not get positive yardage. So,
yeah, I think the only time I ever saw Turpin not get positive yardage was when Kellen Moore used him. But that's been some time. Here's the thing, and I've always had this argument for your main starter, there should be somebody that can replace him if there's an injury. boom, let's go into the fact that Dak Prescott. We talk about him as a quarterback, guy that can possibly use his legs, doesn't use it as much as he's gotten older, but can throw it. Boom, you got a backup quarterback possibility. I know we kind of keep Cooper Rush out of the mix, but when you look at Trey Lance, you got a quarterback that can throw with pretty good accuracy, but can also move with his legs as well. So, I mean, we haven't been able to see a lot in his NFL career, but the fact that you have a lot of similarities there. So when you're talking about a guy like Turpin, I love it. I mean, but, if Turpin's out, who do you replace that with? Because you need to keep that same kind of dynamic going with your team. And that's where you got a guy like Deuce Vaughn, I think. That experiment can only go so far, and I think we need to see some success there this year with it. Or, the Cowboys may be starting to move away from that whole thing, and it just might just be a soft story that we just kind of heard about,
Yeah, definitely.
So
pay that man his money.
So
What's up, Vinny?
I do want to talk about something you were mentioning because we're talking about wide receivers. We're talking about CeeDee Lamb. Brooks is a guy that we are hearing coming out of any OTAs. Obviously, it's still really early. We have to get training camp. We have to get people hitting each other and everything to kind of make a more solidified answer. But you're hearing the same thing as I'm hearing is Brooks is doing a better job getting a little bit more I don't know, just turning some eyes, turning some heads, keeping some eyes on it, on what he's doing compared to what Tolbert's doing.
Well, yeah, Jalen Brooks, I mean, he was a rookie last year. So, he didn't get a lot of opportunity. It wasn't like he was a highly drafted, rookie. Just looking at him now.
Well, I mean, in general, we were throwing to Gallup and we were forcing it sometimes.
I mean, we drafted him in round 7 last year. He's 6'2", 205. He's a perfect height. What I like about him is he will snatch it. He will go up and snatch the ball and high point the ball. Not a lot of receivers do that. Him and Tolbert. If you guys saw Tolbert towards the end of the year, he really started, coming into his own.
Thank you, Brad.
He is another big guy. So you got CeeDee. You got the 2 Jalens, all well over 6 foot, and then you bring in Cooks and then Turpin. Man, I really do think it's a perfect.
I like our wide receiver core. I do like it.
I've always, I mean, every time I heard people go, we need to go out and get somebody. We have too many bodies now that I like.
Vinny,
so to go out and get somebody, I'd rather allocate that to somebody else.
So Vinny brings up a good one. We just picked up obviously Flournoy, where that one has some big potential as well. And everywhere he's been, it's definitely been an elevation. I'd give him a year to kind of really get to know the system, but once he gets that year under his belt, his productivity really increases almost by double anywhere he's gone. So that's going to be interesting to watch as the background, kind of like the same thing with our young wide receivers. But I do like it. But again, even with that young core and everything, you still need a veteran presence, somebody that knows to play the game, knows the rivalry when they're getting the little shakes because it's game time and we've been building up this whole rivalry between us. You got guys like CeeDee Lamb that are maybe possibly taking a slant and then taking it to the house and really getting people to relax a little bit in those games. That's what you need in a veteran receiver. And again, I'm very critical about what he can do. Or lack thereof. I'm a big person with the if your number one needs to be able to come back to the ball. But like Bryan is saying, you have some other guys that have that potential. So I'm interested to really see where this team is going to go with this. I'm also interested in the tight end position. That one right there, a lot of potential in the sense of what's behind Jake Ferguson. I thought Luke Schoonmaker, I don't know about you, but I think again with a lot of Cowboy fans where I'm already getting kind of tired of it, and it's only been a year. I think that's the crazy part.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank God I'm not running a team because I'd have an itchy trigger finger, but they're doing the right thing with him. He's going to be ready for camp, people. It's just frustrating. It's very frustrating, but I'd like to talk about camp at some point when you get a chance.
Let's do it.
Slide into that.
We can go into camp right now because we can always jump back to these other topics.
Yeah. Well, you brought up Schoonmaker and the NFL. I like that. I'm watching your
the graphics things. I'm switching it out. I'm using the AI, so you'll see some little glitches and stuff in there, but.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, it's cool though. Very cool. I like. Now I lost train of thought. Oh yeah, the training camp. OTAs. The NFL teams are really trying to switch up what's going on. What they want to do is really change and extend training camp, but kind of like have like one OTA right after the draft and not have three because they literally had rookie OTAs, then they had voluntary with the whole team, and then they had the mandatory in June 4th through 6th. They're going to try and eliminate some of those and bring players a week to 10 days in earlier in training camp in the future, not to do physical stuff. It's not like they're going to be hitting, but what do you see? You see a lot of soft tissue injuries.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is they have this mini camp, they have the draft, a lot of the young guys too, and then everybody takes a break. Okay, we got to get ready for training camp, and then they. These are all young players. They all cut it real close, and they try and hurry up and binge work out, and you end up. Once you get into training camp and you're fighting for a job, you're going all out. All of a sudden now you're really having all these soft tissue injuries. So
the ones that I've
try and change that, and I'll be curious to see what the player that would be better for the players. They're still not going to be allowed to hit, but you won't have that break. You know what I'm saying, Phil?
Yeah, I tend to.
You would have like a week of working out together in camp before you put the helmets and pads on. If they pads on. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was seeing some of the workouts and stuff, like, yeah, when you look back at the old school kind of way of doing stuff, you saw a lot less of the ACL injuries. There was a lot of the things. That's why they're talking about, the turf, the fields, which one's better. I just tend to see the history, I think, with the practices, being able to hit each other. Dan Campbell and his, of course, Lions have gotten into the situation that we've gotten into. Excuse me. He got fined and got, of course,
cough, I hear.
It is still lingering. It's still a lingering son of a gun. But they're going to lose a practice, obviously, with that, and that tends to be where the Cowboys, they lose that practice anyways. I mean, they had it this year, but they didn't decide to do that last day of practice because they're going to do team building. So, I don't know if that gets taken away from them as well, but. I don't see it as much of a problem as maybe some other organizations may. I'm all for the hitting and stuff because I tend to think your guys will be tougher, a little bit ready for season. But, of course, it's still very early. I mean, the last thing you want to do is be causing some injuries. We saw guys like Tyron Smith. I mean, think about back to the defense. We're going to go a couple of years back, but Gerald McCoy, doing some stuff that wasn't in his realm of what he normally does. Oh, I'm an offensive lineman today, and then he gets hurt.
Know how it goes, Phil. You've been in these camps when you play college ball. It's like you think you're ready, but when all of a sudden you're in a competitive situation, which training camp is, and listen, even when you're a veteran, right? Even when you think you have stuff locked up. And let's face it, if you're making millions, you do, kind of. But you're always fighting for your job. So I like the idea of extending that out and reporting a week to 10 days earlier, and you'll just be doing more conditioning work. I kind of heard something. I was watching Jeff Kavanaugh and Bryan brought us a few days ago, and they had a podcast. And now that Jeff's been fired from yet another radio station. He's doing a lot of YouTube, so he brings Bryan on a lot, and I get a lot of my stuff from Bryan. I really do trust him, and Jeff he's funny and he's knowledgeable, but Bryan's really did scare me when it comes to Micah. Really, really scared me when it comes to Micah. Micah does not like the classroom, the X's and O's, and I'm just be very curious when we get to training camp how that's going to work.
Well, let's be real, man. He never will be as much as that's a game where Jordan it kind of proves it, where he had that level of this is where I push my body, but you also have to push your mind. And if you're not going to push your mind because you're just going to you're just relying on your physical ability, it's going to only take you so far because at some point you're peaking and you need to be able to rely on that other stuff. I don't know. I think if anything, the Cowboys need to make it more active. I think
what it is. here's my opinion on it. It is what it is. He's not. He's only going to get better, people. He is. I'm not here to cry. I love Micah. Let's start with that first.
Yeah.
But when we start,
You had no filter.
throwing
That's
out,
the
you
problem.
want to be the highest paid non-quarterback. I'm sorry. Those guys are the guys that are the first one there, the last one to leave. You know your X's and O's.
When new people come in, you're teaching
man.
them.
You're not even
Yeah.
the best defensive player in the league. You're
Yep.
not.
Yep,
You're
I
not
agree.
close to Miles Garrett. I'm sorry, you're not.
I even
I
think
know
that.
that's a
I
shock
think
to people.
I even think the one for Pittsburgh, Watts. I think he's.
Well, I said that, and I had, I can't believe it. I love Micah. Stop. But he could be so much better.
Yeah,
He could be so much better. And he already admitted that he's undersized.
Don't mistaken
and
this
he
for the
breaks
media.
down, which is why he can't. Yeah.
Don't mistaken this for this media bashing that they're doing. They're doing that for the contract. We're talking about just the player. Like, when it comes to our defense, passive rushing, this is the top one that we have on our team. Period. It's just everybody understands, man. His off season stuff. He just talks like he doesn't have that. Like, hey, man, maybe I should just shut my mouth this time.
Now,
he just
I
talks.
think he's just the podcast talk. Because he's literally a year away from even be. We have him locked up through next year. So, But Brad, yeah, I heard Cam Akers was linked to us. I don't buy it, Brad.
I would
Do
be
not
okay
buy
with it,
that.
but-
Everybody's linked to us, big guy. Nothing against Cam Akers, but again, people just need to take a step back and realize that
I want the help on the defense.
we're fine. But
I'm more concerned. I want stuff on defense signed. Gilmore got signed. A defensive tackle got signed. Give me something like that.
Well, yeah.
Give me the
think
safety,
Gilmore,
Simmons, Justin Simmons.
Hey,
give me
Lindsay.
that guy. Like, give me somebody on the defense that makes me kind of go, all right, here we go. But otherwise, I'm not really worried about the offense. When you look at the offense, this is going to be again year 2 of Dak and Mike McCarthy. But when you look at the actual team, let me bring this stat up here. This is the high scoring team. It's always kind of has been for the past
Always
2019. At least since Mike
Most of it
McCarthy.
Kellen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was Kellen, but Mike McCarthy was overseeing some of it. I guess.
Mike too. Yeah.
So when I look at that, I don't see that being the problem. I mean, obviously, clutch times and all that stuff. Again, you can't practice this until you're in the situation. So he can come out and go, and they can do their mojo moments all across the field. It ain't gonna matter much unless there's an actual playoff game on the line. So until that moment comes, he cannot redeem himself. All we can try to do is try to push forward, and that's going to be the defense. We got to work on the defense. Of course, Zimmer, I feel better about our defense being in a guy like Mike Zimmer's hands. But I'm very curious to what he's going to do with Micah. I definitely at least get excited that Mike is going to be used a little differently than just lining up on the edges.
Well, yeah, and I kind of steered us away. The only thing I want to just before we get back to the defense, I just want to finish with the CeeDee Lamb thing real quick. Since I'm wearing his jersey, CD, I'm hearing a lot of Dallas Cowboy beat writers, Mickey Spagnola. Basically his headline reads, the CeeDee Lamb. Getting CD signed is complicated. I totally disagree, Mr. Spagnola. The contract is out there. If you did the exact same contract as Justin Jefferson, I'd be fine with it. I mean, the salary cap hit year 1 is like $8 million. So it's, he's making 17 now. He's counting, I believe, 17 mil on the books this year. So just to finish off, how long do you think this is going to take? Do you think this is just going to be the first few days? He's going to miss a couple of days of camp and they'll get it done?
I think at least a week or two of regular camp.
Yeah, okay.
I think. But again, like I'm saying, I'm putting it up there.
I don't understand why it's hard.
I don't mind it.
It's not hard.
That does. Oh no, getting the contract itself, you already have a number to go off of.
It's there.
Let's just go and do it. So I can see it getting done. But I'm not totally against him sitting out because, of course, injuries, possibilities is always a thing.
No, I hear
and
you,
I love the young guys getting practice,
Well, that's the thing. I'm fine with that, but like when the rubber meets the road, he should fall in right with Justin Jefferson.
Well,
if you told me they had the same agent, I would say, okay, boom. He may want $500,000 more, $1 million more. That's not a lot, people. Boom, done.
Let's just get it over with.
Yeah, but I'm with Phil. I like the idea of getting all these young guys. Ryan Flournoy. We have a bevy of people. Jalen Moreno Cropper from last year. It just goes on and on. But sorry, I had to get that out.
I'm with you. I think the only thing that would be negative.
It should be easy, people.
Yeah, well, the only thing negative is I would want him to actually be teaching some of these young guys. So I would want him on there day one, kind of talking to these guys, showing them footwork, showing them routes and stuff. CeeDee Lamb is amazing when he comes to the routes. So I definitely would love to see his leadership in that role. So I would not want to linger this, especially now we already have a number. You know, they were talking about waiting for Justin Jefferson's number to come out. Now we got it.
Done.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. We already have our extra money. We're not getting it anywhere else unless you're restructuring somebody's contract. But let's just get it done. I think that's where you get the next one, right? After CeeDee Lamb, who's next? Is it going to be Dak? You know, because
now Lamb's salary cap hit is $17,991 right now. So when he signs his deal, you'll save it $10 to $11 million this year. So based on the Justin Jefferson contract. So again, money is really, but I just like when I hear the Mickey Spagnola's rollout, it's not as easy. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, Mickey. What's hard is whether the team wants to pay it. Now, I see Vinny Hagan says, did you hear Lamb to the Steelers? I did not. But just remember, Vinny, we're not getting rid of CeeDee Lamb. Okay? That's not happening. Now, Phil's on board with trading him. And that's not necessarily want to trade him.
I don't want to.
Mark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did.
Me, I'm that way with Parsons. I'm that way with Micah.
I'm that way with Dak, and when it comes down to it, I want a better team overall. I don't want one person holding this team hostage.
Exactly. I'm not saying I don't want Micah. I do. Yeah. I love Micah. But again, if you're going to tell me you're going to be the highest paid non-quarterback, that's what you want. And yet you're not even the best defensive player in the league. Myles Garrett is head and shoulders above you, and there's probably a few, the T.J. Watt. I mean, you're close, but you're not that close because where do you play? But anyway, and that's a good transition, to the defense that we're getting back to. We'll start with that, right? Like I want to work outside in. Micah Parsons, he's really doing a lot of talking. Mm-hmm. He didn't show up to OTAs. When you do that, Phil, you put yourself out there. And, again, I feel like I'm hammering Micah, but nope. I didn't ask him to do that. I didn't ask him to miss OTAs because he's trying to let his body heal. He came out and said he's undersized, Phil. And now you're hearing that he ain't going to want to play off the ball. He ain't going to want to play off the ball linebacker. Well, okay, what are you saying then, Micah? I'm confused. Mm-hmm. I don't know how Mike Zimmer is going to put up with him.
Well, here's the thing: is you don't put up with him. He's when it comes down to it. I want to have a dog that's like that wakes up and takes itself out. Well, guess what? You still got to get your ass up and you still got to take your dog out in the morning and stuff like that. You can't rely on other people, and so Zimmer's going to give him his responsibilities. And Micah can talk all he wants. There's certain points. I'm sorry, but it's kind of like kind of like talking to a toddler. They ask you a question and you just go, ha, and you walk away. You don't even acknowledge what they said. You're like, look, I want you to hit this gap with everything that you have. Don't be giving me like, I don't want to. I just think Zimmer's one of those type of guys that I don't really care what Micah's saying. If they're going to tell Micah to go do something, he's going to go do it.
Get in his ass.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? He's going to get in his ass when he's out of position because I don't think they're going to line him up consistently at defensive end. I just don't. So that's going to be interesting. I think they're going to mix him around.
Well, let's be real. Why would you want to be stuck in one spot? I mean, you would want to move around. I mean, this is what makes these players great. It's just, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb being on the outside, the inside. You're moving him around. Boom. That's what you do with your great players. You move them around.
Everybody listen, people. He just connected exactly what I've been saying to Micah. That was a great analogy, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
Really is.
it does make sense. I mean, you try to get him in space, you try to put him in mismatches. That's the whole name of the game. And if you have a main guy in your offense, you have a main guy in your defense that you can do that with. That's amazing. But again, they have to be participants when it comes down to it. So this is the part of the leadership. Leadership doesn't come out and say, "Well, I'm not going to do this, not do that." Now, Pro Bowlers do that. Zach Martin, he does that. I'm not going to play left tackle or right tackle. I'm just going to play guard. They stuck him. They left him in this spot, but he's been able to be the right person when the mic has come on. He's not making drama, comments either.
Yeah, right. And he made a comment like, "Well, I'd be here, but or he like a comment about his money." And he might have been joking, but at the end of the day, like people are saying in the chat, you have tailed off when the competition has gotten better. Not that you're not dynamic. I love you, Micah. Again, I don't want Micah to go nowhere. I want him to finish his career as a Cowboy. But you need to start putting things in perspective, bro. You got 2 years before you're technically a free agent. All right, you can hold out next year before your fifth-year option. Okay, that's fine. But stop worrying about what you're going to make and start, worrying about lining up properly, where you're going to be and what your responsibility is. Listen to a guy like Mike Zimmer, who's coached the greats in this league. Deion Sanders, Mr. Uncoachable. They're best of friends. Why? Because he's a hell of a football coach. Mm-hmm. Greg Ellis is going to be the key, in my opinion, to controlling Micah Parsons.
I agree.
Because Greg Ellis is going to say he's yelling at you because he wants you to be that number one best. I think he can do it, but I don't know it lining up against lining up against a guy like Lane Johnson, down in and down out, who outweighs you, everything you, and you're just using your God-given ability, and you wear down. You need to open your eyes, man. You need to open your eyes and your mind and learn from Mike Zimmer. So, what's up, Ultra?
Ultra makes an appearance. When it comes to him, I want to put him in the same category. I'm not going to measure him up against guys like LT.
Don't come in here starting your names already, bro.
When I look at with Micah, I want to compare him to guys like Lawrence Taylor, but I'm not putting him in that same category. I mean, LT had this presence on the field that Micah still hasn't been able to harness yet. But the fact that he was a linebacker, defensive end kind of whole situation, it was that hybrid. I mean, that you remember Cordell Stewart / he was a quarterback / wide receiver. It's just, to me, he's just that guy. He's either, and unfortunately, as much as I love him in coverage and everything, until he can get down the playbook correctly, really, what is he good for other than rushing the passer? Unless is he reading the quarterback and then reacting? No, I don't think he has the discipline to be able to do that. You get your more linebacker guys like the ones that we drafted here, and then of course Kendricks. I think those are your guys there, but unfortunately, Micah, right now you only have him in a category that he's a pass rusher, and I can't really see them trying to pay him as a linebacker. Even if they play him as a linebacker for 1 year, you're still going to have to pay him as a defensive end, because let's be real, man, that's where he shines at. Mike is...
Yeah, I want to keep Micah Ultra. I'm just saying, when it's a little bit disheartening when you hear it. I didn't the classroom aspect of it.
I didn't say I put him on that category. I talked to him about. I say it as that person. Like when you look at a Von Miller, do you think of Von Miller as the guy
I agree with that.
in coverage? No, you think of him as more of the pass rushing kind of guy. Even if I put him on the edge at the outside linebacker position, he's still rushing. Middle linebacker, he's still rushing. I don't trust him to stay out there in space too much.
Brad, we'll see, buddy. If he's not signed by the training camp, he's gone. Cowboys Mafia, what's up, my man?
And Micah it tends to disappear. You're right, Cowboys Mafia. He says LT showed up in big games, and And even being held, I mean, they weren't calling all those holding calls on LT either, and he was still kind of manhandling people. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was on some other shit out there other than adrenaline, so maybe that kind of pushed that envelope. But yeah, LT did hold the point of attack. I think that's where is that a Dan Quinn thing? Was it he was trying to get his pass rushers up the field so much that he was leaving these gaps between the edge rushers and the tackles. Will you see a little bit more discipline with guys like Zimmer in there? And of course, I'm excited about Nealon. I mean, I'm very surprised by this one still because, again, I did not expect us to go this way, but this pickup has been very, very nice. Hopefully he can stay healthy and kind of contribute to this team, but that's a hell of a pickup. Kind of, unfortunately, makes me kind of forget about Sam a little bit, but I mean, Nealon and Sam would technically be the future guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
listen.
Go ahead.
Like, I got something scary for you guys. I'm looking at him now. Wow. We're talking about Lawrence Taylor. He's 65 years old. Where the hell is time gone? Wow. But LT was 6'3", 237. So what's Micah? I'm just curious. Micah is
Serotonin Cowboy. Face of the franchise, Micah will be quarterback number 4. Yeah, I mean,
Micah's 6'3".
If you see his running back, I mean, playing running back in high school, I mean, that was impressive.
I don't know why I thought that LT was bigger, but
maybe
Micah's
the pads
actually slightly bigger.
Maybe the pads a little bit, I guess. Yeah, he played big. Maybe he did play big.
Yeah, I don't think Mike is going anywhere, people. It's just like I mean, all right. Why don't we just worry about Myles Garrett, the contract?
Yeah, because
we got to jump over Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's the one that we gotta watch. There's definitely some contracts there before his time comes up. Man, it's just at some point, man, it's just you paying these guys. You unfortunately, we're at a situation where if you want to keep these guys, you're not going to be able to go into free agency trying to get all these stars. Oh, so-and-so's a free agent. Oh, so-and-so we need to just trade. No, man, there's some big contracts there, especially if you're going into these. And then you still got guys that are going to be even farther in the horizon where you go Tyler Smith and your offensive linemen. It's a little scary to think, what's going to happen. Obviously, the salary cap can be manipulated in many ways, so don't get it carried away And of course, with the bargaining agreement and all these streaming services, I guess the money's just going to keep going up, right?
Yeah. It makes no sense for Dak not to have a contract. He's gone. Why would Jerry wait to complete with other NFL teams? Been down
wrong.
that road because he don't want to pay him.
Yeah.
He wants to see more cards dealt. That's what he said. But I wanted to get into moving along. I heard them talking about the kickoffs at OTAs.
Oh, really?
Phil, with the new rules, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. The new rules had it to where, what do you call it? Dallas's average starting position in OTAs and the mandatory minicamp was at the 50-yard line.
Okay. Now, was that a knock against our special teams defense, or was that because of Turpin?
No. Like, you got to remember, they're lined up 5 yards apart, way in front of the kicker. The kicker, nobody can move until the ball's kicked and the ball either hits the ground or hits a player. So what they were working on was catching the ball on the run, getting their momentum going. So you get a guy like Deuce Vaughn or Cavante Turpin moving up. Remember, nobody's moving.
Like arena football.
Who kicked the ball.
Yeah.
So they are averaging in the OTAs. It's going to be an adjustment period at like the 50-yard line. And that's going to be, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out. Anyway, get to the chat, man.
No, I'm watching. I'm looking at it because they're talking about. They're talking about the race car that should be number 8 for Aikman. He goes, the Cowboys waited to pay Dak the first time he received his contract. This is an unfortunate way that the Cowboys conduct business, and that is true. Some can say that when I look back at Dak's contract years, I've always noticed that he's balled out. He's the guy that when there is pressure, unfortunately not playoff pressure, I'm not going to put that part on it, but pressure as the quarterback sniffing down Romo, when Romo was coming back, the way that he was playing. Now you got Trey Lance, you're teaching him, that everybody's talking about that whole possibility. He's playing a little bit better in the second year of there. I know when he's had contract years before, he is balled out. Obviously, one of those contract years was the year that he did break his leg, but they did still invest in him, and he definitely became a different quarterback. I think once that happened, he was more of the pocket passer and no longer the rusher unless it really, really needed to. There was plenty of times where Bryan and I last year were just screaming for him to keep the ball and go. So I would love to see that come back, but I just don't see him putting his body on the line, especially I don't know, maybe with some of this offensive line he might get the courage, but do you see him continuing down that path, and then when guys like Trey Lance come in and he's running all over the place, people can get a little bit more hopes up, right? I mean, that tends to be the pattern, right? So I mean, if I look with Trey Lance, the health, that whole concern again will always be there with Dak. I love what he brings to the locker room, but some of his talks has been kind of eerie, hasn't it? Like he's riding the fence. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing, but he doesn't want to guarantee that he's going to be here past this year either.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're not going to make this show into Dak. We're going to hit it and move on. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Listen, I got no control over whether Dak's here or not. Jerry Jones does, and we'll know. If he goes into the season without a contract, he's not coming back unless they win a Super Bowl. And then if I'm Dak, why the hell would I want to come back? I would be like, F you. You maybe play on my final year.
Well, let me go back to the defense, though.
If it's not done by September, let's go to the defense.
All right, let me go back to the defense. As we're talking about the edge rushers and the defensive tackles, defensive tackles is where I just can't. You're not going to get me excited about it other than past 2 players. I think 2 players, I like their potential. I don't think that they're going to have Pro Bowl caliber seasons with Mozzie Smith and Osa Odighizuwa. Again, I love Osa, but by week 14 or so, he starts to tend to disappear a little bit. So I need to see a difference in that pattern. But again, I love him in our rotation, but I just can't believe you got to give him the keys to that.
I'm excited about our young guys. I am.
In what way?
Okay.
And who?
Well, look, we got a couple young guys that not many people. Loyal Cowboy brought me on to the one guy that I don't hear anybody talking about.
Talking about the guy that we drafted?
Or Denzel Daxon.
Okay.
We got a guy named Denzel Daxon
undrafted.
out of Illinois. Just look at some of his tape, people. He's played. He's a mammoth of a man in the middle. Between him and Justin Rogers, they're just 2 young guys who are going to help. They're big boys. I'm not even talking Mozzie. Mozzie has a lot to learn and develop as a 3 technique now. I think Carl Davis is going to fit better.
My whole thing when I look at the defensive tackles history, when we look at the undrafted people that have become stars, your main guys, cornerbacks, wide receivers, quarterbacks, but defensive tackle just tends to be one of those guys that what they do in college tends to be what they do in the NFL. And Aaron Donald, for example, they saw kind of that talent. He was still up there, but there has been guys, I think, pass rushing wise, but I don't think defensive tackles. Like, would you put John Randall as a defensive tackle more than a defensive pass rusher? So that's where I get a little bit sad because I love that we do have guys. I do like some of their film, but why weren't they drafted higher, or why weren't they drafted at all?
Right.
Sometimes that gets me. I think Vinny says I think Mozzie will be a nose tackle. is he going to put it off enough weight? Can he still be athletic? Can he get off the ball? There's just going to be a lot. If you're a guy that doesn't move, then maybe getting off the ball is not as important as it is right now, where you're trying to put him as the guy that's going to get pressure. But if you're just going to get him to clog up the middle, then maybe him getting off the ball isn't such a bad problem.
Yeah, Big Sarge, Cooper Rush is also on a prove-it year, and he also says a Cowboy needs a veteran one tech. Yeah, I agree with the veteran one tech. I definitely think, and I think you're going to see somebody. I think if they're going to camp and let these young guys go, none of these veterans really are in a rush to get out, go anywhere, to be honest with you. None of them are into going to training camp like a Linville Joseph or a Calais Campbell. They want to come in when they want to come in. They're doing their work on the side. And a one technique, it's not like you're asked to do that much other than stop the run. So I think that will happen. Either somebody's going to emerge that we're not looking at, like this Denzel Daxon or Justin Rogers is going to emerge to help and fit in the rotation with the people that we already have. People act like we have nobody. I think Carl Davis fits a lot better in Mike Zimmer's scheme than
what he did. Yeah, I agree.
He did.
I agree.
So you know what I mean. So hey, what's up, Curtis? What's up, buddy? East Side's in the house. Johnny Mack is interested in Liafu and Overshone. Yeah, again, Johnny Mack. A lot of people want to talk their crap, but they forget how highly rated our defense was, and we didn't lose many pieces. Nobody is signing Stephon Gilmore. I think Gilmore is going to be a guy who's going to come into a camp when somebody gets hurt. That's his best bet.
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back here. We're loaded.
Unfortunately not. Yeah, unfortunately
in the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
Mark made a video the other day, like freaking out, saying that Trayvon Diggs is not going to be ready for it. They do that all the time. There's no rush. He's going to be working on the side. From people I talk to, he's ready to roll, but they're not going to ready to roll him day one.
No.
There's no need to. Ramp him up on the side. He knows what he's doing. So get these, like Phil said earlier, get these young guys a lot of reps.
Got a lot of
get
them.
them a lot of reps. Yeah, because I heard, oh my God, Guyton, Cooper Beebe, and Nathan Thomas are on the third team already. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
They start out. You got to earn your star. That's how they have it. Yeah.
Well, how it works is the third team is on the other side on the third field, getting 100% of the reps.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Chuma Edoga is rotating in with everybody else at left tackle, so they're getting all the reps in OTAs. That's what it was about.
Well, that's what rookies. That's what rookies do. Every single time they do that. So yeah, I don't see that as anything. By the time you get to training camp, they'll start that as well, where they're not on that starting rotation. But by the next week or so, trust me, that'll all change.
My thing is, Drew, who do we lose? It says
right,
Gametime, right? You didn't lose many pieces, but the ones you have lost, so not fit the basic 4-3. That's okay. So you're talking about Hankins? Okay, I mean,
see that's the part. The defensive tackle.
Drew, again, we talked about it. Phil said we might have better than Armstrong. And we can't keep everybody for the money. He wasn't.
We knew Armstrong was not going to be here. Yeah, we knew he wasn't going to be here. But I think
brought out Marshawn Nealon.
Yeah, Nealon is a great response with that.
Get ready.
Yeah, I mean, you lost a big piece in the sense of Armstrong. You replaced it with Nealon. That I see that as a really good up, because now you have, his potential can definitely go higher. Dan Quinn is going to get some really good use out of, obviously, Armstrong. But yeah, I liked your linebackers that you were talking about. Very young guys that like to attack the ball. Overshone's step back. He looks bigger this year, so I'm interested to see how that maybe changes his speed a little bit. But again, being able to take on some of these linemen, that's not a bad thing to have. Again, I want to see these guys live. I want to see them, shooting these gaps. The preseason, seeing these reps and these guys, just to be able to kind of get your head wrapped around about what kind of players these are. Are they going to be guys that are contributing? I think last year's draft class has to go a big way to make it seem like they're anything. Because you're talking about Luke. Mozzie Smith. You're talking about Deuce Vaughn. You got all these guys, Junior Fajoko, guys. They need to contribute.
Working at the 3 tech. I'm a little annoyed at that, but whatever. They're using Junior Fajoko as a 3 technique. So, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't know about that. So we'll see. That's a.
I understand.
Thing.
Big
That's
Sarge.
I love him, but
Big Sarge says Dorrance Armstrong was a better special teams than defensive, in my opinion. You're probably not wrong there. You're probably not wrong. But at least you got Sam Williams to replace that a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. I like the what Phil said with the rookie Marshawn Nealon, because we're all forgetting about. Hey, Elena, we're all forgetting about Sam Williams. Sam Williams is in a huge prove-it year.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, people, it sucks as a player, but
Penalties.
As a club standpoint, you want players in a prove-it year, and we have a bunch of players in a prove-it year. They're going to fight, claw, do everything they can, study to earn that next big contract, whether it's with Dallas or another team in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't see Sam Williams staying with us. I see him. I would love to see him shoot up, but I don't see him.
He's got all the talent in the world, though, Serotonin.
Yeah.
All the talent in the world.
He does have a lot of penalties, though. As we were speaking right now, he drew a penalty, so I totally get that. I'm always getting critical.
Right.
Him and Hendershot as well.
Me and Phil use different stuff, bang, bang. I went with... I bought it a couple years ago before I did YouTube. I got an Alienware computer. It's more of a gaming type computer, but it does what I need. I just upgraded the C drive. I went with that because I was able to pay on it monthly. So I got a real good computer, and you go through Dell and you get it, and you can pay a monthly.
It's a Dell. You got a Dell, dude.
I got a Dell, bruh. I got 2, what are my cameras again? What are they called?
Logitech?
Logitech. So
Yeah.
I got 2 Logitech cameras, whereas Phil...
I got the Mevo.
Phil, go ahead.
I got the Mevos.
He's got the Mevo cameras. I
Yes.
actually sold him one of my Mevo cameras. That's what Mark uses, but they're $500 a pop, I think. So a little more expensive. Mine were like $75-$80 each.
They're good quality, too,
So-
man. Yours is really good quality, so...
Yeah. And I have multiple, it has everything. I'm still learning. Like Phil, picks up on this stuff, bang, bang, a lot faster than I do. Me, I got to stumble in it and,
Well, that's how you learn sometimes.
I could switch my camera. Hey, there's my other,
Woo, look at me.
I'm cool. I like her. I like her a lot. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, man, hit me up. GameTimeBryan at Gmail. Bang, bang, and we'll get you ready to roll, man.
So as we're talking about this defense, I got to bring up this part because I've thought about this. I don't know, I know in our cornerbacks we got a pretty good room. We got young guys that need to prove it. So that beyond number 3, I'm interested to see what happens there. Carson, what happens with Eric Scott, for example. Mukwamu, he's still in the mix. Of course, he's a Dan Quinn guy, but of course, he's still in our mix. So I'm interested to see what happens with those guys. But I got to move over to the safeties for a minute, at least, because this is a room that hasn't really been talked about. We got guys that left, of course, like Curse, Green Dot that was on our defense, of course, Dan Quinn's defense. They weren't eager to
left. He's still hovering.
Is he? Yeah, I guess he's a free agent, right?
Anybody.
He's not with anybody.
I heard Eagles were looking at him.
So I'm
not trying to be funny.
Well, he would be a good pickup for them at the safety position. Now, when I look at that, of course, we got guys like Malik Hooker that are back. Bell, that's going to be coming from the linebacker position back into the safety position, most likely.
We got a lot of spots, and we have a few spots and a lot of bodies.
That's what I was going to get to you. Are you feeling good about that safety position? Both of them.
Yeah. Our safeties are fine, man. Between Malik Hooker and who's going to be that next guy, I honestly believe, deep down, barring injury, Phil's guy is going to win that job.
I hope so. Thomas.
I think Marquise Bell might be an extra guy.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Wanye Thomas. I think he's unbelievable worker. Everybody I talk to says he has such a desire to be great. Wanya Thomas is probably going to be in the mix.
Yeah, his cousin's tearing it down. It was tearing it down in Florida State. So I'm. Yeah, so it's interesting to see if he makes that. So I would love to have that. But again, I'm feeling very comfortable. I would love to throw a guy like, if you're getting him at the right price, the Justin Simmons, to bring him in as well. But of course, you got Wilson that's in there. I think people forget about Donovan Wilson because you're bringing him. A lot of people are bringing him up into the linebacker position. Will he play that position anymore? Or will he go back into the safety position?
Donovan Wilson's a guy, interesting guy, interesting because to me, he's a guy just off the top that could be a possible trade. If things work out, you could possibly trade Dono, but I think Zimmer's going to love him because he offers that physical in the box type safety. But Big Sarge brings up two guys, and I brought him up before, but Julius Wood, he's a rookie. I'm gonna just go throw him. But obviously we got Marquise Bell. He's going to be in the mix. Okay, I'm going to run down our safeties. Malik Hooker, obviously he's the quarterback back there. They just re-signed him. Imani Johnson out of Nevada.
This tape looks good.
It's Julius Wood and Imani Johnson. We'll see how it works out, but they're going to try and stash them on the practice squad. The problem is Imani Johnson, 6'2", 218, but he's he's a really good, really big hitter. And Julius Wood, that's just looking at his 6'1", 193, but East Carolina, all over the field. So that's why I was like, if they were to work out, you might be able to unload a guy like a Donovan Wilson. Not that I want to, but again, you would save some.
He's got a lot of money.
He's
got a lot of money tied to him.
Yeah, he just got a lot of money. Yes, he is a UDFA, exactly, Big Sarge. But again, I would argue, Big Sarge, not with you, but with anybody, that Dallas is best at picking them under the unrestricted free agents. Probably better than anybody in the league. And I know, you're a Cowboy fan. Just look, TJ Bass. That's enough said. He went undrafted, and he could very well start this year.
You know what, Brian? That's a great point.
He will be in the mix.
That's a great point because, this year, the depth that we have, I'm feeling way more comfortable. Offensive linemen, of course, I would never be totally comfortable with that defensive tackle position, but I like the linebacker depth. I like the corner depth, the safety. Yeah. Go ahead.
Is a question mark, is the defensive tackle. Not because we don't have bodies, but we don't have we don't have that one guy. Oh, well, we got him. We don't have that.
Drew says
it's a question mark.
Yeah, Drew says, Phil, not trolling. I really think your defense takes a step back this year. New system, not the right players. You guys play some high-power offenses. You are correct. I look at it as Zimmer being able to use the guys that he has, but, you're not wrong in the sense of not having the right personnel for what we want to do. I just think that I'm giving maybe Zimmer a little bit more credit in the sense of where he's been able to come in, change defenses and make them better. Not expecting our defense to be better, but at least to be on par with what we were at. That's where I look at Zimmer. I don't feel it's a step back. But when you bring up positions like we're talking about with Hankins and everything, you can't help but say that is a huge step back unless you're doing something game plan wise to counter it.
It is, but again,
if you're shooting linebackers into that gap,
You know what it is, Drew? I can't sit here and go back and forth with you and say you're wrong because I don't know. But if we're just spitballing,
I mean, he's not wrong with a lot of the mismatching kind of we don't have the big linebackers. We just have very athletic linebackers.
Zimmer said this when he came in after he looked at the tape. He goes, "Normally I'm coming to a team who needs unbelievable amount of help." He goes, "I see talent all over this defense."
There is.
So that is already a step in the right direction. Now, I mean, again, just remember, Drew, how he likes to play his defense. it's going to help. Remember how we ended up our year? Everybody wants to just throw Dak under the bus in that Green Bay game. We were getting beat every which way but loose in that playoff game. They were
Yeah, in the defense.
Whereas
So
Zimmer,
you're right. Yes.
Zimmer does not show his cards. Okay, he needs his defensive tackles to do one thing: stop the run and eat up a double team. Give his linebackers room to flow to the football. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
That's all. He don't want penetration necessarily. That's why he said, I think we'll get somebody.
Yeah, Drew, I totally
know.
get what you're saying. I mean, Zimmer, when's the last time he was at a Super Bowl? So I totally get what you're saying in the sense of his playoffs. Right in that same boat. Hopefully 2 wrongs can make a right in that sense, right?
They're all getting up on him now.
No. But, he's not
Yeah,
wrong.
He won't play zone all game. Yeah, exactly, Brad.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the problem with this defense? But I look at what could we have brought in as the Cowboys defensive coordinator, and you would have felt better about? Not very much. There's not many defensive coordinators that were out there that I was sitting there going, okay, at least. Again, we're talking about the defensive tackle position, but we're not at least talking about the defense of a whole being a weakness.
Right.
We're talking more about a single position. It's just something we got slashed on for the past couple of years, and it's just something that worries us. Glimmerman can definitely point out what I'm saying. He's concerned.
What's he saying?
No, he was just mentioning. He goes,
I'm
I worry about.
Yeah. I think we're all going to be worried about that, Glimmerman. But again, there's still time. That's the one position you really don't like. We did. Everybody forgets we traded for Hankins. It wasn't like, that was
to me.
That first year was last year was good.
Yeah.
So.
To me, like guys like
they didn't want him back.
Like Kendricks,
he didn't get a lot of money.
Yeah, when you look at our defense, a guy like Kendricks is very valuable. I think at some point he's going to be hurt. That's going to take the step back. There's going to be
good.
There's going to be one point. Hey, it's true. His history has kind of shown that a little bit more recently. That he's going to at least be hurt for a couple of games, and the way that he plays, I like the people that are stepping up at least to play in his position. You feel a little bit better about compared to last year. I was definitely downing a lot of this linebacker positioning just because, again, who we were sticking in there. We were putting safeties in there. But to say that this defense is elite, no. They'll still get turnovers, I believe. But you're going to have your gambles. You don't have a guy like Bland and Diggs and take gambles like that and not eventually get beat. So I think you're still going to give gashing plays. I think those guys are still going to be successful. I'm not looking at 8 interceptions. I'm at 5 for returns. I'm not thinking all that. Just because he does it one year, I'm not expecting the exact same the next year. But I at least hope that people behind him. When you look at Gilmore being gone, who's replacing him? Well, Diggs. Obviously, Diggs is the guy that was out all year. Diggs. Do you feel better about Diggs replacing Gilmore?
Yeah. I don't know. I want Gilmore back.
No, hell yeah, I want Gilmore back.
I love our corners, but just getting to you went over Eric Kendricks. You said he's going to get hurt. Damone Clark led. He led our linebackers last year with 70 tackles. 70 tackles. You know how many tackles Eric Kendricks had last year?
Let's say
117.
Well, yeah.
117. So again, from 70
and how many
to
plays did he? How many games did he play? Does it show? Does it show how many games he ended up playing? Kendricks.
Last year, Eric Kendricks played 15 games.
So 2. See, right? 2 games, I said. Yeah, about 2 or so games he'll be injured.
Yeah.
But, for a linebacker that's very physical, I'm not surprised,
Last year he played 15. In 2022, he played 17. In 2021, he played 15. In 2020, he only played 11. 2019, he played 15. 18, 14, 17, 16, 15, 14. So...
Okay.
Again, he's going to miss a couple games, but, if you guys remember, Damone went downhill when Leighton got hurt. Damone was swimming because he's not the guy to make all the calls.
Yeah.
The fact that Overshone has been in a building for a whole year, he's a rookie physically, but not a rookie mentally. He was, do we not remember he was sideline to sideline everywhere in the preseason last year before he got hurt. I mean, again, you're going to have him ready to roll, knock on wood. Again, injuries happen, so let's not, but if he's healthy, the Marvin Overshone is going to fit unbelievable next to Eric Kendricks and Damone Clark. So I don't know, man. I again, Drew, it's all, we're at that time of the year where we're all excited about our teams. We know going in that we have a couple areas. Like the Eagles know that they are very young, they're going to be young in that secondary.
But at least they have
CJ Gardner-Johnson back, but you got a whole new defense to play.
But at least
us playing a new defense.
This is the way I look at it, though.
New defense.
But at least they have potential to be better than what you had there. You know, you got two corners there that you don't know what you have. Two first-round corners have potential that were ranked very high. So what you had compared to what you have now, I would definitely be excited as you're an Eagles fan. Linebackers as well. At least you went out and addressed some stuff. You already had some really good defensive tackles. Now you got, again, my questionable move is the Reddick being, sending Reddick away was my big questionable call.
That was a mistake. Everybody that knows football will tell you that Reddick was a mistake and that Huff is a gamble. Huff was a part-time player.
No.
So we'll see.
But
if he works out, then no harm, no foul. If he don't, okay, he fucking Josh Sweat better work his ass off. But you're gonna be Josh Sweat and who's the other guy?
Vinny, you're so correct.
Of the guy right now.
Yeah. Injuries happen. That's the great equalizer. It is, man. That's
injuries happen. Yeah. Definitely. But again, you're running a whole new defense with a defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, that has lost his shine in the league. A lot of people are saying he's lost it. I'm just letting you know. Vic Fangio's the last two stops have not been good. Now that don't mean he ain't gonna be good in Philly. Again, they weren't good last year, so especially coming down the stretch. So I guess it's a welcome addition, something new, right? So bang bang, what we have now or then is still better than the Cowboys had in the platform the last 33.
Actually, not yet. No.
I
wouldn't say that.
Buy that.
I wouldn't say that. But yeah, you guys got a really good off. I think if you run the ball, just continue that running. You're taking the defense off the field, and I think that's how you. Yeah. His history does not say that.
Going to run the ball.
His history does not say that. But I think if they can implement that, I think they'll be fine. I just they got a really high powered running back that they got a good.
You know what he does
line.
do, Elena. You still have not reported it. Yeah, I know, Elena. Why would you trade for a guy and not give him a contract? He wanted a contract with Philly.
Here's the thing that I got as well too.
Organization.
When you're looking at the Jets as well, they're showing Tyron Smith. He's like, oh look, he can still glide. I was like, no man, we all know he can glide. We didn't question not wanting to bring him back. It's just if you play him like that or you practice him like that too much, he's gonna be out for some games. You got to take it easy with him, man. It's like the Jets are just trying to flex with him, which again he always looks good. I worry for Smith. I want him to have a success again, but just not against us. But when I look at some of these guys like that, Tyron Smith, do you see Tyler Guyton being that alternative? I'm hearing out of camp, people are getting really high hopes with him and that. Do you see him making that transition from right tackle to left tackle?
Yes, I do.
Do you see the coaching staff giving him help, or do you think they're going to put him on the island? What?
Zach Martin came out and said he is very, very. He didn't say surprised. He goes, he's very, very shocked at how these young guys have come in. For Zach Martin to say that is a good sign, people. That's all I'm saying. He's talking about Cooper Beebe, Nathan Thomas, and Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, you forget about Nathan Thomas. Again, you hear some good things about him as well, and I'm that's a shocker a little bit.
So, again, you see video of Tyron with the Jets looking great. He always looks great.
Looks weird and green.
Nobody's doubting a Tyron Smith, but the numbers say he played. Phil was worried about Eric Kendricks. Tyron Smith averages 7 games played over the last 5.
I would have been instantly
7 games
worried about Smith.
So they did the right thing. They went out and drafted.
Well, let me ask you a
left tackle
question.
in the
Let me
first
ask you a
round.
question. Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. Let's say they bring back Tyron Smith. Do you think they pick a Guyton in the first round?
I would.
You think you still would have?
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that they would. Probably.
Yes, they just had a very bad habit of
move.
That would have been the right move, but they've shown this habit of not being able to.
I don't know.
To jump in front of shit.
This organization, I don't know this organization right now how they're running a team. They never run it like this. I mean, listen, I get it. They never, sign free agents. We know this, but they always sign their players. Always. Sometimes overpay. Fall in love with their players, but to do what they're doing now, this is not normal. People go, "Oh, this is just Dallas." Now Dallas normally signs their own. Dak, CeeDee, Micah, everybody. Nobody's their own head coaches. The defensive coordinator, everybody.
That's where my boss is giving me crap. He's just like, because we were talking about this. He goes, "Hey, do you want to tell this scouting guy, oh, how dare you doing this team?" I said, "Man, this is the only reason why we're doing as well as we are is because of the scouting guy." I was like, "We keep our own players, man. We don't do a lot of free agent stuff. So they tend to like their own guys. They draft very well. Again, they just need." We'll always be on that whole bandwagon of you need to spend in free agency and be able to draft. Again, until they're able to do that, it's just, I wonder if a guy like Will McClay, if you did give him that capability of being that GM where, Steven is more of that, the face of it, how would he do with the free agent personnel as well? He wouldn't be a guy insulting people. He would understand their value and where they're coming in. And so I would love to see that more if that's going to be the next regime. But, who's to say? I don't know if Steven's going to let go of those reins, right?
Yeah, who the hell knows about that? I wanted to clear up some, I don't know. I'm not going to name names, but, I don't know why I listen to certain people. But the color green isn't gang-related in Brazil, people.
No,
it's not.
It's a rival.
Any backlash over the color green isn't gang-related. But it's about two teams who predominantly wear green jerseys playing in a stadium that hates the color green.
Yep.
Any discussions of uniform changes likely had nothing to do with potential violence, but respect for their hosts. So, not gang-related. I don't know where these people come up with gang-related. No. But gang, bang, green, pause.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, Eagles tend to, I think for one game, I mean, you can easily do your other in the sense of alter colors. You have that all black uniforms. One wears the all white, and kind of do, some stuff there. I think it's very avoidable.
How hot
yellow.
Do you think it's going to be in Brazil in September?
No, I don't know, man. It tends to be the opposite. It tends to be the opposite of what it is. So it might be cold. So, but I think again, that's just people not doing their research. I mean, that's like those interview people that they bring a star on, they ask them a question, and maybe it's a sensitive subject. Oh, my mom passed away. I don't know how many days ago, and then you're asking him, some question because you didn't do your research. And I think that's where you're just falling into the same thing, the laziness.
Yeah, that's not bad.
What's that?
91 degrees on average.
I guess 91. It is hot.
So just. Yeah, it's hot, but just make sure you have your pickle juice. You'll be fine. Just bring some pickle juice to Brazil. Brazil.
I have done that before, the pickle juice.
Oh, there he is. What's up, FJ? How are you?
Yeah, Linda.
FJ is in the house.
Guyton's going to have to mature very quickly, man. He's going to be plunged in there. He's going to be plunged in there against some really good defensive edge rushers. Garrett, of course, right off the bat.
We'll let you slide for a minute or two. Game time, Bryan. All the white alternative. I love that, Drew. I love the all white. I think you know what it reminds me of, Phil? It reminds me.
Steadhead, hey Joe. Prime, and the guy with weak angles. Hey guy, is he saying your angles are weak, or is he saying my angles are weak? Either way, we can share the weak angles.
What was I? Oh no, I was saying. I like the idea of an all-white uniform. Who does that remind you of, Phil? Like an all-white with like gray numbers, like a gray eagle. Now, I would say chrome, but they won't go chrome a grill. You'd have to go gray grill. It's something that the University of Oregon would do. You know, they would have a nice. I think they did have an all-white uniform, or like a lot white.
Yep. And then the yellow and the chrome
that.
and stuff on the helmet.
Everybody's into this black shit. Now, give me something.
You got to have some
unique,
countering stuff, you know. Yeah.
Gray grill, I'm telling you, that would be good. That would be good. The gray grill. I mean, you know, but again, they ain't gonna do it.
No. I'm interested to see what they do.
What's up, Sledhead?
I'm interested to see what they do with these colors as well. But you know, again, they're trying to broaden their horizon by doing this. This is where I'm talking about those extra games. You know, if you're doing, that whole what we had originally 16 games. You know, you're doing 8 on the road, 8 at home, and then if you do that last one internationally, or you're doing it wherever,
you know what I meant.
Then it doesn't matter. You're not losing that whole advantage of home and away. So both teams are away. So I don't mind doing that with that extra game. It's just when they add the extra 2 games, stuff like that. You know, you got to balance it back out. So I'm interested to see where the NFL goes with this. But again, they need to kind of take their head out their ass a little bit and kind of, think about where they're going. Maybe ask somebody, maybe use an interpreter. Hey, do you guys have any rules? So. But anyways, Brian, I think,
All right, I'm just looking at the line, just real quick before you go. I'm looking at the lines. Week 1 lines are out, everybody. Just, Phil, Eagles, Packers in Brazil. If you had to guess the line, what would you think it was?
I would say that the Eagles are favored by 6.
Right now, the Eagles are -1, 1.5.
That doesn't make any sense, but I mean, they're seeing something that I'm not seeing. I'm giving maybe the Eagles a little bit more credit, but I don't know. Like that doesn't.
Dallas at the Browns, week 1.
Man,
what do you think the line is? I know it's ridiculous because but I'm just saying there is a line. You could bet it now.
I'd say us by 2, maybe.
Dallas by 1.5, 1.5. Kind of like the same with the Eagles. We're a favorite in Cleveland against that vaunted defense, which kind of makes no sense to me. I would think it would.
I think it's just the fact that the offense, is a Deshaun Jackson kind of guy going to be there? Because he can slay that defense.
He's looking good.
Yeah, well, he would be there enough to at least slash the Cowboys and then be out the next following 5 weeks.
Pretty much even, both teams.
Yeah, we're even at the Brown. Yeah, so. So anyways, Brian, hey man, I appreciate you coming through. We missed last week, so I'm glad we were able to get another broadcast under the belt. What training camp? When does that start to happen? It's like in July, right?
Yeah,
March. Is the end of June?
I will not be going.
No, I can't go.
Probably July 24th ish.
Okay.
Expect it to be that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of
thanks, Drew.
A lot of possibilities. I heard Mike McCarthy talking about. Of course, we're not finished with roster acquisition. It's a 20. And they bring up that whole. It's a 24-hour. Blah blah blah. I don't take anything of that. I hope that they keep looking. I mean, especially as we were talking about with them releasing people once training camp happens. But again, us bringing somebody here, I don't think that's going to happen until at least. What CeeDee Lamb, these guys are signed where we can kind of see what the money is the way that it's falling. But anyways, Brian, I appreciate you coming through. Anything you want to tell the folks at home before we get out of here?
Not really, man. Not really. We're going to be, like I said, we don't know what's going on, but I'll be on Wednesday, for now, and we will go from there. You guys see me a lot more than you see Phil because of just my daily videos. But, yeah, stay tuned, We'll be getting stuff up, people. We will definitely be getting stuff up. We'll start thinking about the schedule once the getting closer to training camp. But, yeah, this is the dog days, so we got to come up with stuff to talk about. So,
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, it is. And then some of the drama kind of unfolds itself, and we, the stories kind of write themselves. Sometimes you can't really, I don't know, man. You can't plan some of this stuff, and that's where the Micah filter is. That what we're talking about? What's he going to say next, or is that going to be the headlines for next week?
We're just talking, people.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're talking about. Everybody gets their panties in a bunch. He's not going nowhere.
But one thing that I know,
yeah,
the one thing I know that I'm talking about is I appreciate you guys not forgetting to do what?
Ring that bell.
Oh man, it was great to hear that noise. I got to do it again. Let me
ring that bell.
Oh, now it's not even going. There we go. All right, man. You guys take it easy, man. Peace.
Who are you?
Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil.
What kind of a stupid name is that?
Oh, they let you pick any name you want when you get down there.
And what is your name, sir?
Well, I told you my name, man.
Sir, what's your name?
It's my co-host, Gametime Bryan.
Cool name. Superpowers?
I haven't relaxed. I'm ready for a wild show.
What would you say you do here?
I don't know what it is yet, but it could be a lot of things. So we'll see.
This doesn't make any sense.
Nah, nothing makes sense here, man.
You thinking what I'm thinking, Bart?
Yeah, let's f***ing rage!
Yeah, okay, cool. I don't need the PBS special.
What the fuck is this piece of
Can you say what the f*** did I do last night?